Today, we are going to answer one of the most important questions: what it actually means to learn in the age of artificial intelligence. And for that, we have Luis Serrano, who is a mathematician, educator, and the author of one of my favorite books in machine learning, The Grokking Machine Learning. He's undoubtedly one of the most clear voices who makes AI and maths truly accessible. He started out in the world of big tech like Apple, Udacity, and Google, and later on dedicated his career to educating the next generation of scientists and engineers. In today's episode, we actually explore what it actually means to be creative in a world where machines can think faster than you, what it actually means to learn, and most importantly, what to learn, how artificial intelligence impacts the creativity and the research. So, if you are a scientist, student, or just someone who is fascinated by how artificial intelligence impacts your learning process, and most importantly, what you need to learn, then this episode is just for you. And maybe it will leave you thinking a bit differently than before. So, let's jump in. I'm a fan of your videos and of your book, both of them. And I really like the way you teach. So, thank you so much for joining me for the podcast. So, how are you doing?
Thank you very much, Ishita. Thank you so much for your invitation. I'm a big fan of your podcast. So
Thank you.
yeah, I'm very happy to be here and I'm doing great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, like when I was actually looking at your journey, and I am actually very fascinated to know normally the people who are in the tech world who have worked at companies like you have, Apple, Google, and then you have worked in quantum science. I mean, you switched to teaching people, you switched to education, which is like a very big switch, for anybody already having everything at your way. You have good technologies, you have everything, So why did you actually make that switch?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good question. I've always a teacher. Like my heart, I'm always a teacher. So whatever I'm doing, I'm like trying to teach as much as possible. So when I was in academia, for example, I like the research, but I really love the teaching. I was always trying to get more teaching and giving talks and stuff like that. And when I was in industry too, like when I was at Google or other places, it was sometimes I was an actual teacher, like at Apple, for example. I was just teaching the employees.
Wow.
That was my job. But other places, like I'm always trying to be the one who gives the talk, or when the students visit, or give stuff in the like seminars, like in the weekends or something, or even if like explaining stuff in a napkin or something. I'm always an explainer because that's how I understand stuff. I'm less of a doer. I mean, I can do stuff if I have to, but I always gravitate uh to explaining and teaching. So one day I just said, okay, maybe I should be true to what I like and what's easy for me and what I where I can contribute more to the world. So I made the official switch one day, but I was always doing it on the side.
So, how difficult was that switch? Because I know, because when you make the switch from such a nice place to, being an educator itself, how difficult was it to, establish yourself in the field? Because now I know that most of the people will look up to your videos and, when they want explanations, like it's an easy way to understand, but it takes time to establish in the field. So, how did you overcome that challenge?
Yeah, it was a very gradual change. So my first time of teaching, I mean, outside of academia, when I moved to industry and I was in Silicon Valley, the big switch was switching from being a data scientist to a teacher, but I switched in industry. So I started working at Udacity, where I was still in tech and I still had the life of tech and the at a tech company, but my job was teaching the courses. So it was a gradual switch, and then that's where I started putting videos online. It was just kind of a coincidence. I would put some videos for my friends to see it at
Yeah.
the company for like the courses we're gonna do, and then they started getting views, and I was like, oh, okay, I should do this more. So it was very gradual and slow, and then as the channel started growing, I was still working, and one day I said, okay, I think I'm gonna quit my job and become a full-time like YouTuber educator. And 7 years later, I had the courage to actually do it. So I took a while. I changed jobs, and I was always my jobs, as I said, was always teaching. But
Yeah.
I was always doing the YouTube channel on the side and writing the book on the side and doing education on the side, as well as my job, which included teaching.
Okay.
But yeah, the big change was 2024. I pulled the plug and I just quit my job and I started doing this full time. So that was sort of I would say that was the leap of faith, but I already had a lot of followers and a
Yeah.
lot of things. So it was, it was a lot of little steps rather than a big one. It's like doing grading descent, right? Like it was not
Yes.
a huge step, but it was like a lot of tiny steps
Yeah.
becoming.
Yeah, I mean, that's I mean, you already set the platform in all those years and you set the foundation, and when you made the final step, it fell very smooth, right?
Yeah, it felt smoothly because I was just
Yeah.
what I was doing on the weekends and evenings. I started doing it on Monday to Friday. So yeah, it was pretty smooth.
Yeah. And I have this question from you. I heard one of your podcasts and it was like you did your PhD in mathematics. Your PhD
Yeah,
was in mathematics and you started coding later, right?
much later. Yeah.
I mean, normally it's either together or it's the opposite. People first
Mhm.
dive in computer science. I mean, they have mathematics, but not as like too deep of a mathematics of like somebody who has a PhD in it. And they do
Mhm.
it the other way around. But your
Yeah,
journey is like mathematics and then computer science.
yeah.
So, how did that feel? I mean, when you started coding, with your mathematical concepts, did it feel easier with coding to, kind of understand the mathematics and to even do stuff with it?
Yeah, you pointed out, and I realized it was completely backwards. I never really clicked on my head that it was backwards, but yeah, it was completely backwards because, as you said, everybody's easy part is the coding, and the challenging is the mathematics. They can do it very well, but that's the part where you have to learn. I
Yeah,
came with a lot of the math I needed, and none of the coding, or very little of the coding. I mean, I took some coding in undergrad that I had, but I was never a very good coder. It never interested me until later in life. And so it's interesting because when I was working as a data scientist, basically depending on the conversation I was having, I was either the most knowledgeable or the least knowledgeable, depending
okay.
on how technical or mathematical the conversation was. So I had to stay sort of try to stay in my safe zone and venture into the other one. But it was a huge challenge. I mean, to me, coding has never been easy. And production coding is very hard. So I had a hard time with the transition. I learned a lot, but I put in a lot more work to get normal results. But then luckily the math, I guess the intuition came easy. I had to learn a lot of new stuff, and you have to switch from being a mathematician to being a data scientist or slash machine learning uh, practitioner. You have to change some paradigms of how you think, right? Like in math, you try to prove everything, even if it's really slow, nobody cares, or if a use case happens very very seldom, you still look at it.
Yeah,
Whereas in machine learning, you don't need it to work all the time. If it works for most of the time, it's good, and if it's fast, it's better than if it's 100% effective, because you'd rather, you click on your screen and you rather get okay recommendations fast than wait a minute for like slightly better recommendations, right?
yeah.
So I did have to flip a few switches, but yeah, I guess it was a very interesting journey to come from a different angle from everybody else.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that is a different way of thinking it because normally, in biology also people understand the biology and then if they require, they go for the coding. For me, I
Yeah.
always do the opposite. For me,
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking like, okay, I should know how to do. I mean, I should know how to code what I want to do. I see the
Yeah.
biology later, which no biologist really likes because when you talk to your supervisor, they're like, "No, you're a biologist. You should look at the biology." I'm like, "But I'm a
Okay, so you
biologist."
go for the coding first.
Yes, I go for the coding
Ah,
first. That because whatever has come to my mind or whatever creativity I want to implement, I
yeah.
just know how it will look like on screen.
Okay.
Then I can tweak stuff to just get the biology corrected
Oh,
or
that's
praise it.
interesting.
So,
Yeah,
that's how
that's super interesting. I guess obviously, like that's a great thing because you add a completely different angle from what everybody else sees, and I think that's what's needed. I mean, I think a team has to be as diverse as possible in all ways, but one particular one is in ways of thinking,
Yeah,
right? If you default to the programming and somebody else defaults to the biology, you'll see things they don't see.
yeah,
And maybe they'll see things you don't see. It's the same happened with me. Like I saw things that others didn't, and they saw things that I didn't. And the point is to have, not the same perspective repeated, but to
yes.
have completely different ones, and you can see things in more
Yeah.
dimensions.
The more people and the more different perception, the more dimensions of the same problem you see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And okay, so this brings me actually to the question that your work at Udacity when you were a
Yeah.
teacher there, that so then teaching always brings you a new perspective because teaching people is like you have to be so clear that you have to convince people what you're explaining is right and it is this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did it help you to shape your perspective about artificial intelligence, about the
Mm-hmm.
things you are teaching, and about also how well the students like me or the PhD students or master's graduates are prepared to adapt these things fast? And because for me they were never in my curriculum, I was never taught these things, like that's why. So how did it?
Yeah. I mean, this needs to be, you said a magical word, which is adapt. I think this stuff was never taught for you and for me. I never, all the stuff I've learned of AI or tech, most of the stuff I've been outside of university
Yeah.
because it's just been later with courses on the internet and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I think that that's going to continue because technologies are going to change so much that we don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. We're going to have to learn it from scratch, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so the key is adaptability. I mean, the key is I focus more on adaptability than knowledge. Knowledge was the real estate of previous generations, right? Like grandpa could learn one thing at 20 and work on that for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Like good for them, but that's not doable right now. And as a matter of fact, I think it's not a good thing. Like I think the brain needs to be,
Emotion.
rewired continuously. So I think now we don't have that option, and we have to figure out a way to continue learning all our life,
Yeah.
which is fun. I mean, if you think about it, it's fun, right?
Yeah.
So I think skills that are like adaptable are more important than knowledge. So if you have a math intuition, that's more important than math knowledge, right? Like if you're
Yeah.
fast and it's like a math is you're like a language that you speak. You may not have a lot of knowledge of the grammar, but you speak it. You have a feeling that this word is wrong there.
Yes.
You don't know the rule, but you
You
just
just
have
know
a
it.
fluency, right? So math fluency, as much as we can have, is good. Programming fluency, just fluency of the world. I mean, turning real world problems into math and algorithms and stuff like that. That's those skills are never gonna go, right? That's like running and kicking and walking. Like those things are never gonna go.
Yeah.
And whatever the next thing is a combination of those things. Like data science ended up being a combination of some programming, some math, statistics, and some real world skills of translating things into math. So, and I have no doubt that whatever next technologies will be that. And if they have extra stuff, we'll have to learn that stuff. But if you fit in your brain, I think that's important. So I always put mental fitness and adaptability more, and I try to teach that. So I try not to people to not memorize. If they have to memorize, for example, an algorithm that is not popular later, it still doesn't matter because if you understood it, you're good. Like linear regression, maybe we're not going to use it, but
Yeah.
if you understand it and if you memorized it, then that's gone. But
Yes.
if you understood what are you trying to do with linear regression, then a neural network's not that hard. It's just a
Yeah.
it's just a bunch of linear regressions put together and combined with each other,
True.
right? So, and whatever the next thing is probably going to be similar. So I think if if you understand the basics really well, then you're ready for the next things. And as for like how to teach and stuff like that, I really have two things that work for me because I'm a very bad learner. Like I'm very distracted and I have all kinds of difficulties learning.
Yeah.
So to me, two things work really well. If you paint a picture,
Oh, okay.
pictures have to be there. I'm not a formula person. I'm a visual person. So if you have images and examples and a story, like a narrative, like I can't follow a bunch of facts together. And we watch movies that are not true,
Yes, true.
but we enjoy the fact that it's a story. We read fiction. Like, how does that help us? How does reading fiction help us if you think about your career or something? It doesn't. It's just fun, right?
Yes.
And we never read books that are a series of facts or
Yeah.
watch some, even documentaries that are like series of facts, they have a story.
Yes.
And so we are drawn to follow stories. And when I'm following a story, I can follow. When I'm following any other lecture that doesn't have a story, I cannot follow. So images and story are what I really use when I started using it at Udacity. I made sure you have those two. And if you have those two, I think you at least have a good place to start.
Ah. Now I
Yeah.
know, now I know how did you write your book. Now I can understand your thought. But it's kind
There's
of,
a plot, there's
yeah.
a arc.
I, I think being an educator like you are is also a lot of craft of forming your thoughts in a way that makes people understand. You
Mhm.
know, because I read quite some books on machine learning, and none of them came as easy to me as yours.
Thank
None of them. And it was always very hard on me to grasp the stuff because when I was in my college, I had the biology and I have the bioinformatics training, but they don't teach you the machine learning stuff from the mathematical point of view. You
you.
just
Yeah,
see that, okay, in the psychic learn, do this fitting, do this transformation, and like a robot, do these steps. But
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I it just didn't come handy to me. Okay, I did these steps now, and whatever I'm getting, is it right? Is it wrong? I can tell
Mhm.
you from the biological point of view, is it right or is it wrong? But I just don't know what is happening inside. So I was
Mhm.
like, no.
Yeah, you mentioned something very interesting, which is that education makes you sort of an instruction follower, right? Like they give you, you have to do these 5 steps, and
Yes.
then they ask you to do those 5 steps. So they're testing for obedience. They're not testing for skill or anything else. They're testing who's gonna be the obedient one that's gonna not question any of the 5 steps,
Right.
do them as fast as possible, and that's the one we're gonna reward with the next step in education, and the next step, and the most obedient gets rewarded, and then you have a workforce of just obedient people who don't question anything, and
Yes.
that's not good, so I have actually a small technique that very simple, but it switches things.
Yeah.
So let's say I give you the instructions, so I'm from the teacher and I give the instructions and then how to do it.
Okay.
The quiz comes later. No, I like my quizzes to come first,
Oh,
right? So the quiz is before, and I say, how would you do this? How would you do this? And it's fascinating because then people that open their mind and they try all these things, you
yeah.
know? So in my first machine learning lecture, machine learning course, I teach, let's just go back to linear regression, right? I teach linear regression. And if you say, this is the algorithm for linear regression, now apply it to find the price of a house. It's not the price of a house. It's the same example. But that's fine. I still do price of a house. I'm not original there. I just go that. But then instead of that, I say, okay, here's a bunch of houses, and they have these many rooms, and there's one that I don't have the price, and I make it easy. The prices are like one room 10, 2 rooms 20, 3 rooms 30, or something like that. And maybe I change them a little bit, 10, 11 and 21 or 19 or something. And then I say, how much would the house with 4 rooms cost?
Yeah.
And everybody, people figure it out. And if I make it a little more complicated, you'll be surprised that people come up with different algorithms, and some of them come up with linear regression by saying, oh, I think every room costs this much.
Yeah.
Some of them come up with nearest neighbors. Like people have come up with nearest neighbors. They're like, well, if I take the two closest houses and average them out, I think that's what it should cost. And I'm like, you just came up with nearest neighbors.
Wow.
And when you let people, they've come up with a lot of stuff. Like if you just give them the prompts, I've seen people come up with SVMs, people come up with like Bayesian probability stuff. If you just ask the question before in the right way, like I have to really ask the question in a way that it brings the thinking that they use in real life, right? Because if you we have a very mathematical brain, but if we use it in real world stuff, it's very effective. The moment we switch it to like formulas, it becomes ineffective because it's not used. So if you word the problem in real world terms and you say, hey, how much do you think this banana would cost? I mean, look at the apples, look at the
Yeah.
other things. How much do you think? I don't know. And then people come up with algorithms. People
Yes.
come up with all this wonderful stuff. So if you just make the quiz before, then you destroy that obedient part of the brain and you really open the creative part. And oh my God, I've seen such genius when I do that. So I just do it all the time.
Wow. I mean, that is amazing. I mean, I honestly never implemented that way. Oh, till now because and no teacher implemented that way with me as well. They are always
They never do that. No.
on the
They just,
blackboard. This,
yeah.
this, and you are done. Even
Oh
I
God.
don't say the name, but I attended a workshop which was
Uh-huh.
on all this machine learning and coding stuff, and it
Yeah.
was by one of the most reputed institutions, and it was
Yeah.
too heavy. I mean, it was like full of people, and all they
Mm.
were telling me, do this, do this, do this, do this, and I'm like, okay, now that helps me a lot. Now I just learn psychic learn, which I could have learned from the documentation as well. Great.
Easily, right?
Thank
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you.
yeah. They program me like a computer. They think they think I'm a programmable computer.
Yeah.
I'm a human.
It was just funny because after the 3 days workshop, my supervisor asked me, what did you learn? And I told him, I just
That
learned how to use Psychic Learn. I learned that.
could have been one YouTube video, one tutorial.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I was like, I
yeah,
don't know why I wasted 3 days of mine.
exactly. Yeah.
And I asked, and they were like, if you have any biological problems, you can ask us. If you have any problems, any problem in your mind, you can ask us. And then I
Mm.
was like, I actually wanted you to train me so I can answer the biological question I had in mind. If I have to ask you, then I would have gone for a bioinformatician
I
already.
could have easily, exactly.
So I think
Um,
that is the kind of education now is very important for people to know that, you just don't have to cram it like goats. You're not
I,
robots.
I agree completely. I agree completely. The education should be so much fun. I mean, it should be exploring, it should be building. It shouldn't be sitting down and listening to somebody and just following instructions. I mean,
Yeah,
we're not
I,
that.
I do agree with that. And I have this interesting question from you. In one of your podcasts with somebody, you said this line which I really like that learning never goes out of fashion.
Why
And
is that?
yeah,
Okay,
you
I don't
said
remember, but I don't remember, but I agree with me. Yeah,
so you
learning
said
never
this
goes out
line.
of fashion. Okay, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
And you just now, mentioned that it's the intuition. It's not, cramming algorithm. It's the
Mhm.
fluency that you have to develop, the touch, like
Yeah,
people develop the touch of the things. We need to just know, like
yeah,
if ChatGPT coded, so I actually just if I am fluent enough, so I should just know that where it is actually likely to make mistake and go and correct it if it has done.
yeah,
So
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
how do you think, people develop that touch except for teaching? How can they themselves develop that touch, that fluency? What would actually bring that?
That's a very good question because that goes. Uh, I mean, I have, and everybody has, and I myself conflict with this because I'm like, yeah, you need to develop this by doing it and coding, and now we have ChatGPT that does it, but it's also very helpful,
Yeah.
and it helps us focus on the higher level things. So I think I think you should always try to do stuff yourself, right? Like if you're learning to code, don't just jump into ChatGPT. Like do a few things yourself.
Okay.
Obviously, don't forget the fact that you have a thing that codes, right? It's like a calculator. It's like a car, right? Like don't stop walking. Don't take the car to the corner store. If you can walk, walk. But if you're going, to the next city, then drive, right? So I feel like it's like that, with the brain. Like we should always try to, like, at least when we're learning, like, do things. There are things that you just have to work out. And
Yeah.
then once you're comfortable, then use the aid. And some skills do get lost. I mean, who knows how to write assembly?
Yeah.
Nobody. But people still know very much about the programming. Like a purist in assembly would say, well, you're not allocated memory. You're not doing all the stuff that you could learn by writing assembly. Sure. But I think there are other skills that I learned by writing code on, like, Python and going a little fast than if I was writing assembly or punching cards like grandpa used to, right?
Yeah.
So I think some skills maybe will be gone,
Yeah.
but they're replaced by others as things get higher and higher levels. So there may be some skills that the programmer of the future doesn't have that people who learn in C++ or Python maybe do have better.
Yes.
But at the same time, they may develop other skills that are new, like maybe more high level skills. And you still always need to know the high level. Like, I write a lot of vibe code, but if I let it by itself, it starts messing up, right?
Yeah.
It's like a car. If you take a car and you put a brick pedal in a brick in the accelerator and let it go, it's gonna go. The first 10 meters will go well, but then it'll just
Crash.
crash. Whereas if you drive it, which is very little work, it's
Yeah.
very tiny
Right.
directions you give it, you take it much farther. So I think that's with vibe coding. If you let it go, the first few lines will look good, but then after a while, it'll not know where to go.
Yeah.
But if you guide it properly, you can do wonders. So I always try. I always appreciate it. I try. I always get scared, like everybody, that we're gonna lose skills.
Yeah.
But I always think if a skill can be done by a machine, then it's not ours. Maybe it's just gonna give us room for learning other skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I do agree with you on that. That yes, of course, like if one skill goes, you have the time to learn something new. I mean, by goes,
Yeah.
maybe machine does it for you. But
Yeah.
like this was actually where was my next question, and you actually, brought it here. So now the researchers that are there who are doing PhDs and are in the science field, they're actually letting the car drive itself, and maybe the car will crash because they are using this artificial intelligence so heavily in the research,
Yeah.
because there are always news of paper retractions, paper are being retracted, or the results have been falsified, or they are not the correct
Yeah.
ones, they have been fraudulent and has been generated using artificial intelligence or something like
Yeah.
that. And also, they are using AI so heavily that their creativity, because science is all about creativity, right? So,
Yeah.
creativity has been limited. For example, if I ask ChatGPT 10 questions and it
Yeah.
says me, okay, you can do these and these things in 5 ways. Now, I will try all those 5 ways answered by ChatGPT, but there is no sixth way I'm going to try that is my own. So, how
Yeah.
do you think about that? Because artificial intelligence is good, it makes you very efficient, because I use it for
Yeah.
stuff like I don't have to pay attention to, so because I have other things to do, but it's
Yeah.
actually limiting the creativity of the researchers.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good point. I think if you just let it be the creative stuff, it's gonna run into a wall. Like, it may be really creative. Like, as you said, you can ask for 5 ideas and it may give you the perfect 5 ideas,
Yeah.
right? Some things could happen. It could be that it's a sixth one that you found the five and you saw none of them work. I'm sorry, give me more.
Yeah.
That's already that's already creativity. And from the next 50 it gives you go, oh, I think the 31 is actually decent, but maybe, like, do this. Like, that's driving a car.
Yeah.
Or even if you say, oh, I think a sixth one could be in this direction, right? Like, and you slightly nudge it,
Yeah.
you're injecting your creativity. I
Yeah.
do that a lot for my videos, and now I just use ChatGPT a lot. DeepSeek actually helped me really a
Okay.
lot. And I start. This is my technique. I try for it to replace me completely. I try to get it to do everything. So I'm like, explain this to me the way I explain stuff, and I give it previous stuff I've explained. I'm like, and it goes so far. Like, it goes, oh, try this, um, and then I'm like, no, no, sorry, this part didn't work. But how about this? And how about this other idea? Don't use a dog and a cat.
Yeah.
use this other thing, use a cow because of something, and blah blah blah. And then you guide it, and then the combination human
Yeah.
machine is actually much stronger. But if you just let it be all the creativity, it's not gonna go very far. I like to imagine this. And it's just my mental picture. I don't know if it's like that, but I like to think of, let's say, human knowledge, or it's like a bunch of dots in a cloud, right? Like a bunch of dots. And then the you can be creative and add more dots in the cloud. And AI is very good if you have, let's say, one dot here and another dot here to find the midpoint, right? Like if you say, hey, um help me give me the similarities between this author and this piece of science, and it'll be like, well, they match, right? Like it's really good at that. And that's very creative, right? People who know two fields and can combine them well are creative, right? So it's good if you have a bunch of dots flying around to find the dots in between and kind of color everything in between, right? Like finish the cloud.
Yeah.
But then there's a bunch of dots very much outside.
Yeah.
AI, I don't think is very good at finding those. It may be, but I don't see it too easily from the algorithms. How you create a dot that's outside of that knowledge? Combining two pieces of knowledge is easy.
Yeah.
Like averaging numbers is easy, but
Exactly.
coming up with a number that's outside,
Yes.
or dimensions that are outside, that's hard. So I think that's still left for humans.
Yeah.
And if people have to do both, they maybe never have time. If you have a famous philosopher, maybe could have done a lot more.
Yeah.
If every time they get an idea, the thing helps them write the book, and they don't have to spend 99% of the time working it out, the details and the words and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and they just spend more time coming up with the idea outside. So if you put dots outside of the cloud, then the AI helps you fill
Connect
in
them.
the blanks and enlarge the cloud of knowledge and creativity. So I think yeah, so that was a long way to say I think we still have a lot of creativity ourselves that we should really exploit. And if we use this as a tool that helps us bring, or as somebody who helps us, like
Yeah.
far back, like if you and I are talking and you have an idea and I go, oh, that's good, like what about this, and then you say, oh, that's good, and then what about this, that's more creative than the two of us separately,
Yes, exactly.
right? So if you have, I think AI helps you in that. I mean, my friends have a lot of patience with me, but at some point they run out of patience when I start asking questions and questions and questions. Whereas like AI never runs out of patience. I go ask it and 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 make it go in different directions, and I just push it in all directions. And I think I've reached levels of understanding and creativity that I don't think I could have reached before language models, like I would have taken way too long. So it's actually increased my creativity, if anything.
I do like that idea when you actually say that AI helped you, reach that level of creativity because it somehow improved your creativity. It gave you more windows for thinking.
Yeah.
Like because you asked a question and then it answered you back, which also nudged your creativity a bit. Okay, maybe not this,
Yep.
maybe this. But sometimes people don't understand this. What I don't like is that, for example, if you have a coding assignment and you are just using the AI blindly. And you
Hmm.
can actually see that, sometimes when, for example, I have this knack for lead code. I really like doing lead code
I
questions.
like it too.
Yeah,
It's
it's,
fun.
it's
Yeah, yeah,
fun.
yeah. It's
I mean,
fun.
apart like for me it's for like I will just before anything before I get to the code I want to solve it in my mind. Okay, what is the basic logic I can apply, leaving anything.
Hmm.
So when I see the solution sometimes it's very clear that this person has used chat gpt to literally copy paste the answer here,
Yeah.
because sometimes
Okay.
gpt has type of hints which you can actually put it in the, I mean you can just spot sometimes that okay this is a chat gpt kind of a solution. So
You
I
can tell.
have just a thing that if you have a brain, maybe you should apply it and not let everything done by the AI. So
Yeah.
that's what I am no, like researchers. They normally in my lab also people use a lot of Chat GPT and Claude, and I'm all for it. Like you use it, but just make sure it doesn't really take over your creativity.
Yeah.
Because I can remember there was this funny thing. I was trying an installation. And I was like,
Fun.
ChatGPT tried all the solution, but it didn't try one simple solution that I know that it's a solution basically, but I was trying to see that if it will ever come to it. And it came after 2 hours at it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow. So that's why I just feel like human has a lot of room for creativity. And
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, one thing, I mean, I do agree with your line that learning will never go out of fashion. We just have to learn dealing with an AI, but as just like as an assistant. It's like you said, it's like a calculator.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a good tool. And yeah, like as you said, for installation, sometimes it'll miss things. I find that like syntax, it's good. I mean, if I have an idea, like I just go, you go in that direction. Like what we do with an assistant, where the human who's helping us, or like
Yeah.
write a book. For many writers, they don't write their stuff. They come up with the main ideas, and they go, the story should be like this, but then the text is written by like a ghost author, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think AI can do that. If you, just like for coding, if you make it write a book, you should try this. I don't know if you just say, right, give me a story, start a story, and then say continue, 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 continue. It's a mess. Like the name of the character changes, the plot changes, like it doesn't go too far. So if you are, for example, if you are an author and you have this story in your brain, like you're like, I think I wanted to go this way, or you guide it, like you can get something really good. So for example, if I was a teacher, I don't know exactly how to do this for tech. I think it'd be hard, but if I was, for example, a literature teacher,
Okay.
I wouldn't ask students for like short stories as homework, because that can be written by ChatGPT.
Yeah. Correct.
But I would just say write a 500-page book
Wow.
that needs to have writer skills.
Yes.
You use any technology you want, but write a 500-page book. And I think they'll quickly realize that, yeah, you need to figure out how to inject your creativity
Yeah.
into the model. And you need two things:
Yes.
the knowledge of how to inject the things to the model, and also the skill, the literature skill, and the skill of injecting it to the model. So it's completely different than the skill of writers before, which was writing pretty
Yes.
stuff, right? It's a different skill, but you
Yes.
still need to have the story in your head. So I think the same thing works for programmers. I mean, you still need to have the architecture in your head and the algorithms in your head. And now if it's a semicolon, some blibbly blobbly, and case edge cases, like you
Yeah.
always forget some edge cases. These are really good for those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a nice way of thinking about it. That I mean, I can have the researcher skill, but it's just like a now the creativity is also the human AI interaction. That's where I just put my creativity, like a recipe. Okay, if I put a bit of more salt, what will happen? Just let's
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And we have a lot of tools in the kitchen now. I mean, like cooks back then, they want to make a piece of toast, they needed to put fire, and you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like turn on the fire. Now you just put it in the machine. But there's still creativity in the kitchen, right?
exactly.
Like it's still, you don't let the tools go by themselves. And even if they advance, you still have to do your thing. It's just you have tools that make it easy. So it's, the fact is, we're getting uncomfortable because these tools are no longer physical. Now they're getting into our brain part.
Yes.
But I think we should still treat them the same way.
Yeah.